welcome to Life is Good. I'm Heather McEwen, your ever-loving hostess, and guess where we are today? We're at my favorite airport, EFK, in Coventry, Vermont, just out of Newport, 3 miles out of Newport. You can get here from anywhere, especially if you're in a small aircraft or a large one.
Rockin' Robin, slow rockin' Robin, 'cause we're really gonna rock tonight.
And we have Jim Sullivan and Scott Winnick. Jim's going to take us all on a tour of his very high-tech aircraft right here. I'm so pleased. We're not going up in it today, but I'm always open for an invitation.
In aviation, there's all kinds of categories. So this is a fairly new category. It's been around for quite a while.
So have I.
So 2010, there you go. See, but it's like fine wine. We age, we get better.
Yeah.
But this is a new category of aircraft that's really kind of starting to catch on. It's got some big things that are happening with the category this year. It means that the aircraft has to fall under a certain weight limit. So 1,320 pounds or less, which is better because we know in aviation, the lighter the plane,
The cheaper the gas.
higher the performance, cheaper everything, operating costs. So the light sport allows an owner to maintain an aircraft and have an aircraft at slightly less cost than general aviation. Still a general aviation aircraft, can be flown as a general aviation aircraft. But the light sport is really cool because all the companies that are doing it now are into high tech. So I mean, really cool stuff. Safety, parachutes, automatic pilots that automatically turn you around if you get in the clouds. Pretty cool stuff. But yeah, some really cool engines.
Where's this plane built?
Czech Republic is where a lot of these aircraft are being built. No doubt is that's kind of a cool country. Really cool planes coming out of that country, and they're imported to the U.S. here. So this is one of those from Czech Sport.
Well, how did you learn about these?
I've been into aviation for quite a while, as well as Scott. 2003, I got my license here at EFK, and I just progressed through all the planes, went through general aviation, owned a bunch of them, and I like high tech.
Okay.
Technology is the best. Safety and technology in aviation are
Safety is always the first value.
absolutely. So
And what's the cruising speed?
you can cruise about 125 knots in this.
Not bad.
Yeah,
Not at all.
burning about 5 gallons per hour because we go
Miles
by
per
5 gallons an hour.
miles per
can't
gallon.
beat
You
this.
cannot beat
You
that.
can't beat this.
exactly.
I've
We can
never
convert-
heard that before.
You can convert that, and it works into around 30, 35 miles to the gallon.
So if you want to have a smaller carbon footprint, do get one of these. The aviation industry is trying very, very hard to limit the carbon output nowadays. JetBlue is very in the forefront of that, I might add.
So,
So
yeah.
I'm happy about that.
So, yeah.
Anyway, would you like to take us on a little tour of the inside?
So technology is where it's at. It's just basically everything is digital now. Everything is computerized. Everything is built for safety. A lot of really cool stuff in these airplanes, So we can monitor the weather. We can monitor traffic. We know what's going on, situational awareness. So really the light sport category is putting more of this technology in it than actually general aviation at a lesser cost. So that's what I like about it. So.
The insurance in the aircraft goes just like a car. Basically, whatever it's worth is being insured that amount. So,
And it's also pilot experience.
and pilot experience.
Yep. Really fun
And
plane.
Scott had something to say about this too. When you put this kind of equipment, this gorgeous camera, and everything that's in there, technically, if you put that in a general aviation aircraft, what would it be?
It'd be way more expensive than this. Yeah, you can buy different equipment for these kinds of airplanes. I'm trying to think. In my plane, an engine analyzer, for example, in the Mooney was going to cost around $3,000, $4,000 just for the instrument itself, to put it in the plane, and then putting it in the plane, of course, is a little extra. But the same instrument was about $1,200 in my experimental aircraft, which we
Yeah.
can see later.
Yeah,
Just
we're
to give you
gonna
an
see
idea of, what the government
Costs.
regulation and FAA does to the cost of things versus experimental and light sports aircraft in that category. It's a big difference.
Is this the only experimental aircraft at EFK right
This
now?
isn't
No,
it isn't
it's
an experimental. This is an
Oh.
actual certified one. You can get them as an experimental, or you can convert them to experimental if you do your own stuff. It's kind of a technicality with the FAA. So
Yeah.
these are certified aircraft, but you can do different things with them.
What's mics, is that experimental?
That's experimental.
That's a lights. That's a really slow landing, short takeoff and landing.
We're off to see a de Havilland aircraft. They were started in 1928, March 5th, 1928 in Canada. It's a Canadian company. It's now owned by Bombardier, which is another Canadian company. They're great for bush pilots, and that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a bush pilot, and I love de Havilland, so I just can't wait.
The plane that saved the Arctic.
It did, and the Beaver was always taken in to things where like La Tuque and the Twin Otter was taken to La Tuque and Frobisher Bay, and if you wanted to go fishing on a northern Canadian lake, you jumped into a beaver or a Twin Otter and you were there. They're amphibious for the most part, but this one is on wheels.
Yep.
And I've never seen one without pontoons, so here we go.
In here, this is a general aviation Mooney. This is very, I mentioned that Jim had a Mooney also, that we had a collection of them here on the field. You can always tell a Mooney because of if you look at the tail, it looks like the tail is on backwards. And if you, Al Mooney, who designed this thing, when he was asked, how come you put the tail on backwards compared to all the other airplanes, he said, because they all got it wrong.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so this actually helps the plane in terms of performance and fly faster. Moonies are known, you cannot go faster on 4 cylinders in general.
No, it's what, 164 for the cruising speed?
Around 1, this plane will cruise at 160 knots.
Yep.
It's, but does have a turbo normalized engine, and I will go very high in the air to do that. I'll go up over 10,000 or 15,000 feet to get those kind of speeds, but yeah. So this is a 1967 Mooney. Although it looks new, aircraft they can fool you. It's like, well, anyway.
Let's go look at it.
Come around.
My friend's father had one of these, and it was always here. That is the shiniest nose cone I have ever seen.
So the technology in this plane is... this warms the cylinders. And I'll send a signal to a box over there when I know I'm going to fly in the morning. I'll turn the box on at night and it'll warm the cylinders. And so when I come in the morning, the engine's all warmed up and it won't hurt the engine.
It's like a block heater?
It's like a block heater, yeah.
Amazing.
Very nice.
Can we take a peek inside? As I recall it, beautiful leather seats in a Mooney.
And it's a little hard, you have to do the limbo.
And we're going to get to see this aircraft after. You'll notice the colors are the same as the Rexall pharmacy colors because that's where this aircraft originated.
You'll see some ground gauges, those are usually indicative of an older technology. You'll see some digital screens. None of it's touch screen though. All of what you saw in Jim's plane were touch screens. This is not. But this plane is certified for IFR.
That's
instrument flight, so without being able to see the ground, you can still get where you're going.
This is Scott Winnick's baby. Talk about this one, Scott.
This is
take a look at that one there. It's just
pure
amazing.
fun. This aircraft is just pure fun. It's called a Starduster, and you can tell from the decor on it with all the stars. And the person who built this plane was a pharmacist in Montana, and his primary line in his pharmacy was Rexall drugs. And from the color, if you can picture what the Rexall drug line and the signs look like, that's where the orange and the blue comes from. So this Starduster is affectionately known as Rex. And in fact, this plane, the Mooney, was known as Casper because he's all white and kind of like a ghost, and you can see on the tail. This plane can do loops and rolls, and it fly inverted for brief periods of time. So it does have aerobatic capability, which is fun for a lot of people, but you have to wear a parachute when you do that kind of thing. So we will not be doing any aerobatics. I don't have 2 parachutes yet. So.
I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, so we'll keep it pretty straight and level, but it's a lot of fun to fly. You can't have much more fun than flying around in the Green Mountains in an open cockpit biplane. It really is a wonderful thing to do.
It's got to be. And
So go ahead and take a look inside and you'll see yet another level down. So this rear cockpit that you're looking at now, that's where I sit, and I fly from here. Yet you can fly from the front. There's a stick up there and there are pedals up there. The only thing that isn't there is brakes. So once you land on the ground, you can't hit the brakes. But you certainly can fly from either cockpit. I usually fly from back here and take passengers in the front.
How many hours do you have on this thing?
Me personally? About 40.
That's right.
About 40. Yeah.
How long have you had her?
I've had it for 2 years now, but it took me a long time to get to the point where I would leave the ground in this plane.
Why?
It's different. Landing a tailwheel airplane is very, very different than landing a tricycle gear airplane like all the ones we've looked at so far. They can spin around really quickly, and it's so you have to be very careful.
Have you ever flown a Piper Cub?
No.
Okay, that would be twin engine anyway.
No, Piper Cub would be a tailwheel.
Tailwheel, but single engine?
Yeah, oh yeah.
And,
same idea.
Same
it would
idea,
take a while, but I had no tailwheel time when I got
Yeah,
this
I
plane.
thought this would be so much lighter than that it might be easier to train on a twin.
It's easy to fly.
Is it?
It's certainly easy to fly, except when the plane is straight and level, you can't really see over the front, so you can't see where you're going.
Well, I'm used to that. Ask Jenna how we got here today. We went the wrong way.
Just like that, huh?
Oh, golly.
So anyway, that's the biplane, and this is just pure fun. So,
Cruising speed? I asked that on every aircraft.
what? Cruising
Cruising
speed? 100 knots.
I figured that.
Just
yeah.
a little slower than Jim's and a lot slower than.
And the thing is, when this flies over your house in Newport or Derby or Coventry or anywhere, you can hear it coming. You know it. And you know it, that's Scott. And then you look up and you see these orange wings and the blue plane, and you think you're getting a Rexall delivery, but it's actually just somebody having a great time in an aircraft. So thanks, Scott.
You're welcome. So
But-
this is a very sporty plane. It has a cockpit that slides back, and it's certified you can fly it with the cockpit partially back, not a little further than that, but not all the way back. So it's a fun, sporty plane to fly. In the corner, if you can see that plane over there, check out the tail. What kind of plane is that? It's a Mooney, another one.
Yes. The floors in this hangar are probably cleaner than yours at home. I know they're cleaner than mine at home.
Yeah, these are epoxy covered. Very nice arrangement.
Yeah, so your hangar is gorgeous.
Needs a little new floor work.
But is that one of your later projects in life? Oh, here we are. Here we are. And I see you've been feeding it. Is the oil leaking?
Any radial engine is going to have something like that under it because all radial engines drip oil.
I know.
And so this is the
I know, and
fix.
I've
There's
got
this
a
kiddie pool underneath here
kiddie
to catch
pool.
the oil.
Well, you know the DC-3 that was parked at Highgate for
Oh, yeah,
years?
yeah.
Well, when my grandson was born, I took my grandson to have a picnic underneath that DC-3. And we were told there's leaking. I said, of course. But I kept my grandson away from that part. We just had our peanut butter sandwiches under a DC-3. And if he wasn't 20 years old and very busy, I'd bring him to have another picnic
There
under
you
this
go.
beaver.
Take a look at the engine here. You'll see the cylinders are arranged in a circle around the shaft, and that's a radial engine. And so some of the oldest engines were of this type. So this plane, and they'll all be an odd number. There'll be a 9-cylinder radial or 11 cylinders or 7. It's because it's hard to divide 360 by an even number.
Well, I don't do math, so
It'll work out
I just take as many cylinders as you have. But this plane actually was in Spain, and it's one of the 1953
I think it
approximately.
was built in 53.
And
yeah.
This is a de Havilland, and like I said before, de Havilland, my favorite aircraft, is sentimental, and also they're strong, and they saved. Well, the Americans
Saved the Arctic. I mean,
saved the Arctic, and they're great bush pilots, bush planes, and for anything that is out of the way, if you want to go up into the far north,
Yeah.
you want to take one of these.
Yeah, just look at the tires on this. This is, again, to ride on rough gravel or riverbed or rock. These tires are enormous, so you can land on that kind of terrain. And look at the flaps on here. So the wings and the flaps are enormously strong, so they can carry tremendous loads of cargo. So this one's outfitted with still got some seats in it, but if you can see, come on in the back here, you can see how much cargo room there really is. So with these seats out, and this can haul an enormous amount of weight. You put 55-gallon drums of fuel in here and still get off the ground.
Yeah.
So you see, you need a ladder to get up in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need a ladder to get anywhere. But
So these beavers are just the cream of the crop when it comes to cargo lifting and small aircraft and getting them up into tough places. And again, it's a tail wheel. So it has the same characteristics as the other plane we looked at. It's a little trickier to fly. The analogy is, if you picture yourself going through an airport towing a luggage, a piece of luggage with you, and you tow it behind you, everything works out really easily. But if you try pushing that luggage cart, it can swing quickly one way or the other.
Right.
That's what happens with tailwheel planes. The center of gravity is in such a location that the plane can quickly pivot and swap the prop and the tail can switch.
it's something you never think about.
It's really difficult
I
to
never
keep
thought
control
about
of.
that,
That's
actually.
why.
Because I've only seen them well controlled. I've never flown one.
On the ground handling is quite unique.
Yeah.
It's a trick. And so you have to be very careful.
This is a beauty.
They say until the chocks are against that wheel, you're flying. Until you've, not once you've landed, until you get over to the, wherever you're going to park the plane and the chocks are on the wheel, then you can relax.
Okay.
But until then, that plane can bite you.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Not that I'll ever be up in one anytime soon, but by God, it brings back memories.
Do you want to climb up?
Sure.
You want to climb in? Go ahead. Let's see how, imagine.
It's 1 year younger than I am.
You didn't have to give that away,
Wow. I somehow forget myself every time I'm in an airplane. I just go for it. Oh, look at that. 300 horsepower. It'll probably go a lot faster than my Toyota. And I just love it so much. If you haven't been to the Newport Airport, well, it's EFK. It's general aviation. It's just a tremendous place to come with your children, with yourself, just to get into aviation at all. For a nice ride with one of the pilots here who'll take you up. They offer that, hour trips, half-hour trips, so you can see the Northeast Kingdom from the air. Once you've been up in a small aircraft, you never forget it. It gets in your blood. And I started flying when I was 11 with my dad, and I continued until I was told I was not allowed to do it because ladies don't do that. And that's when I was 21 years old. And in those days, you did what you were told. And unfortunately, I stopped flying at that part. Now just being up here just makes me feel awfully good. And I just hope anybody watching this show that you can appreciate what we have here. It's a great little airport with tremendous people who have enthusiasm, and they show you around and they explain things to you. So my vocabulary is very minimal now, but I feel at home here, and you'd feel at home if you came too. They just make you feel that way.
This is the Just Aircraft Superstol.
What's your name?
Mike Caffrey.
How do you do? Heather, thanks for being on.
Yeah.
This is lovely. And you're Jake?
I am.
Oh, goody. You're a
Oh,
student.
goody. Uh-oh. Hi. Nice to meet you.
We just met with a flight instructor. I'm going to let Jake get his tailwheel endorsement in my plane.
Nice. Yeah.
How many
So,
more hours do you have?
Just until I can take
yeah,
off.
it's not a set amount of hours. It's just when he feels he's good to go.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
great takeoff. It's a really weird-looking plane on takeoff, eh? I mean, this aircraft is made for competition taking off and landing. It's your takeoff and
It's
landing.
made to take off in like about 150 feet and coming in and landing in about the same.
Hooked it.
Yeah, in the summertime I keep it at home. I've got a small field behind the house.
Yes, and you
Yep.
said the wheels were something special.
Yep.
They are.
So I'm keeping
Take a
it
look at
here
this,
at the
Jenna.
airport for the winter for Jake. Yeah,
Oh.
These great big balloon tires. These are shocks.
Yeah.
So when you come in and you can like almost stall and just flop it in. There's about a foot of travel here.
Wow.
It's made these big soft tires so we can land on like a riverbed. And there's small rocks and stuff here and there. It just goes right over them, no problem.
What developed your interest in this particular kind of aircraft?
Well, I've been flying little ultralights from home for many, many years. And I just wanted, like anything, bigger, better.
This is bigger than an ultralight. What's the horsepower?
130 horsepower.
And Scott said it could get up to about 100 knots.
100, yeah, this cruises about 90, 95. It's not a real fast airplane.
No.
But it's made to get in the backcountry real tight places.
How can you go? How far can you go on one tank?
3 hours.
Okay.
So depending if you're going into the wind or with the
I was
wind.
thinking that to me.
Yeah.
Well, today it'd probably go a long way that way.
Yeah.
No way this way. I'm being blown away. How are you enjoying it, Jake? What got you interested in aviation?
Kind of always wanted to do it as a kid. And
What are you going to do with it?
I just fly for fun. I got my private a year and a half ago, and this is what interests me is the tail draggers and the backcountry aircraft. So that's met Mike and kind of hit it off, and so now we're flying this.
Generosity of pilots when you're sharing this information is incredible. We have Dan Gauvin here, and he is, well, in charge of quite a few things here at the airport, but he's going to take Jenna, my ever-loving videographer, who's behind the camera, and me. Are you coming, Scott?
I'll sit in the back and be quiet.
Oh, he's going to sit in the back. And Dan's going to take us up in his aircraft. What kind of plane are we seeing today?
It's a Cardinal 177V model, 1976. So yeah, we've had that one now for 6 years.
Yeah, and how long, where will we go? Heck of a wind out there. And some
Sky's the
icing.
limit. We can go anywhere now. We're just going to go a little tour around the area and
Very
see
good.
what it's like around Newport and whatnot. Yeah.
That'll be so good. And I'm very excited because I haven't been up in a small aircraft in about, I think, 11 years.
Oh my goodness.
And,
Well, they're the same planes pretty much. They haven't changed.
Anyway, see you later. Thanks, Dan. So we want to tell us just a little bit more about the aircraft?
Yeah, it's a basic IFR model. It's a 430 WAS, meaning IFR you can fly into instrumental flight conditions. So yeah, it's quite fun.
It should be. Okay, thanks, Dan.
We're going to taxi a little bit first to get to one end or the other.
It's a start.
Hi, we're back in the terminal after a fantastic ride all over the Northeast Kingdom. We saw everything you need to see on a beautiful day, and it was a great ride, Dan.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't bad.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And what we're going to talk about now is the proposed new terminal. This is the old terminal. It's been here for 50 years, 60 years.
1945.
So it's been here about 77 years, I think.
It's kind of wore out its welcome.
80 years. I don't do
Yeah.
math. That's another thing I don't do. But there has been an offer by the state and funding by the state to build a somewhat bigger terminal, but not at all what we need here. What do you think we need?
Something that fits the area. I mean, we pilots, we joined together and we thought the building next door would be 3,600 square feet. We could do it on a third of the cost of what they were predicting this is going to run.
And it would be a bigger place. It would have all sorts of potential.
Yeah, a lot bigger. We're talking 1,800 square feet on a new one, I think, give or take.
Yeah, and that's all right if you're looking at it from the road, but you know, if you're a pilot coming in here or if you're a commercial airline coming in here, you want a place to have a nice little lounge. If you want to have a business meeting, a banquet hall or anything like that, you want a place that we can conduct business and make money from the terminal.
We're getting planes that are $100 million planes. I mean, on a $5 building. It's just, it doesn't mesh anymore.
No, it doesn't.
You know, for its time where you had, you know, Wright brothers flying around, yeah, this was all right. But, you know, times have changed, and you got to keep up with the times. If you want to promote the area, we have to have a welcome center.
That's the best idea. Something that is not only attractive, but practical. And a smaller building built with the state's dollar, sure, it's pretty, but it's not practical. What we have in the existence is what we're going to be shown by Scott Whittick in a minute. It's the old Parker Pie building right beside the airport. There's 3,600 square feet.
3,600 square feet.
And it's a pre-existing building. And there's so much you can do, and
Yeah,
Scott's going to walk us through and tell us all about it.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, there's a lot of potential there.
Pave paradise and put up a parking lot, but don't mess with our airport. Anyway, thanks so much, Dan.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, I'll talk to you again.
Yeah.
Thanks for the ride.
Absolutely.
This building was a hangar. You can tell by the door in the front of it, it's a hangar door. There were planes stored in there once upon a time. And then over years, the airport sort of moved its infrastructure a bit, and there was no way to get an airplane from there into the flight zone. So after a while, that door got shut. It's been shut permanently. Parker Pie had an attempt at running a restaurant in here for didn't even last a year, and it really never got off the ground.
Literally.
Yeah, and so that's closed down, and it's been nearly a decade of this building being empty and unused. So our idea is to use this building as the new terminal building for the FBO, the flight school, a car rental agency, a passenger reception area, perhaps a customs clearing area. That might be a little tricky, but there's still room for that. And an office for the FBO and the flight school over here, and a conference room that would be available for people to use if they wanted to fly in and do business and meet people here to discuss things. So
And how much would it cost what are they looking at cost-wise for the one they've planned?
The one they've planned is $1.3 million.
What's the
They've
size
already
of that?
spent 1,750 square feet for the one that they've planned. And that comes out to be somewhere north of $850 a square foot for commercial real estate. In a world where $300 a square foot for commercial real estate is the norm, that's an obscenity. The cost for this building to renovate this to the extent that it would be serviceable for all those items that I mentioned would be somewhere around $140 a square foot. Far more reasonable. The building's an existing building with radiant heat already in it, so it's I hate to use this expression, it's so overused, but it's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer, but speaking of no-brainers, we're talking about the people who have spent so much time doing a study to make the impractical building that they're too proud to take it back and say, ooh, let's have some common sense. This is hurting taxpayers. The difference between square foot costs between what we have here as a pre-existing building, which would give more than twice the amount of space.
Square foot, yeah. This is 3,700 square feet when you're done. This building would be about 1,700 and change. So nearly twice the size at a quarter or a third of the cost.
And this is taxpayer money.
Yeah.
So let's not spend our taxes on something stupid. Let's go and see Parker Pie.
If you picture this doorway on the front here,
That's
that door will be
$20,000.
gone. That'll be replaced with a a portal hanging over so that you can drive through, get out of the weather, enter the building. There'll be glass fronts to this building. It'll be a really representative building for all the resources that we have in the Northeast Kingdom. We'll build it with, glass and timber, not metal side roofing and things like that. So come on in. Let's go inside and take a look inside and see the space.
So this is the main entrance to the building, and then over here is the hangar door. This is that hangar door. So you come in through the center. This would be a passenger reception area on this side. Obviously, I think we would remove this, which was a bar and a restaurant area, but we'd probably take this down, perhaps be able to reuse this outside as a picnic area, as a portico on the other side of the building.
Yeah, because it's inside portico.
Yeah.
And you said when you remove that door, it's $20,000 that you could probably get as revenue for that door.
Yeah.
And you're replacing that with something that's much more practical and inviting.
It would
So
be. And
if-
so over here in this area would probably be, we have some designs that show this with a stone fireplace and a chimney that goes right through to the ceiling. So the ceiling would be much higher. So you'd have a very comfortable area to sit over here for passengers who are either catching charter flights, or if there were scheduled airlines ever, that would be a perfect place for them. But certainly a gathering place for anybody that wanted to use it like that. Then on the other side of the wall over here is where we'd have the offices for a conference room on the other side of that wall, a pilot's lounge, an FBO, which is the fixed base operator who does the work here at the airport and oversees the maintenance and the plowing and whatnot. And then a flight school on the other side of that wall as well. There'd be offices for each. We think the FBO would be toward the front with a view of the field. And the flight schools would be to the back with the whiteboards and the conference room in the rear.
And not only would that be
Let's
an
walk over this
investment,
way.
it would be seductive to anybody who wanted to bring a commercial airline in here someday.
Yeah.
Because a commercial airline does not want to stop where there's no services for the crew.
2 restrooms are already here, plumbed. They need a little bit of renovation, but they're both pretty functional, certainly compared to the others. So we have
Gotta get the washroom in here, Jenna. It comes with its own everything. It's well stocked already, ready for the traveling public.
but coming in from this side, this roof would be raised to match the other roof, and then the windows out front here would be full-size front windows looking out on the field. This is be the way the pilots would come into this building. So any private pilots arriving here that wanted to come in, the first thing they're going to want is, it's always a bathroom. And then second thing is usually a cup of coffee or a sandwich, and we'd have a small food court over here that would be appropriate for unattended terminal use like that. So this building is here. As you can feel, it's warm. The floor has got radiant heat in it. It's already plumbed. The utilities are in the back corner. And so this building is in effect ready to go at a cost that is reasonable. So that's what we're advocating.
What kind of pushback are you getting?
Just no is the answer over and over again. That it's almost without reason, but what they say is occasionally that they'll renovate the old building and have room for expansion, which just to me means more money on top of bad money that was already spent on an expensive, overpriced building to begin with. So I'm not sure what that means in government speak, but
I heard there's a rumor possibly going around that the person who is saying no to this practical solution has an idea of who he wants to contract for the new building.
it went out for bids. The RFP wasn't adequate, so when the bids came in, they had to redo that process.
What's an RFP?
A request for proposals.
Oh.
And the low bidder on that was $1.3 million. And we think that's who is probably in the lead to get this. But when the low bidder wins something, I know in many government, and certainly in the military, when the government goes out for bids, they get a lot of bids. They take the low bid and the high bid. They throw them out and they negotiate with everybody in the middle, because the low bidder doesn't know what they're doing and the high bidder's just trying to rake them over the coals.
Yeah.
So there's some sense to that. The state, for example, the fence and the gate behind you went to the low bidder 8 or 10 years ago, And it took about 3 years to get that fence built properly and tear it out, and spent twice the amount of money that the original fence cost to let people come in and out of this thing securely in the first place. So there's not a lot of good precedent
No,
for going
and-
with a low bidder.
And also when there's a government project, it's quite often a bottomless pit, because
There are
who's
overruns.
ever pushing the pencil says, oh, but there's more money we can get. And so let's just give it to this person, or let's just build that crappy little terminal and keep Newport quiet for a minute. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Northeast Kingdom deserves a bigger, better terminal already here, already to be completely redone and be beautified. As an airline person myself, I don't want to land where I don't get service. I don't want to land where I can't be comfortable. I don't want to land and go into any place that isn't clean. It doesn't have to be enormous, but this is the minimum size, what we have right here, 3,600 feet.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, we're getting multi-million-dollar aircraft in here, and commercial airlines would look at us as a terrific point of landing. It's a great area. Charters, as you were saying, would be a fabulous thing. Charter to here, rented bus to somewhere, JP, wherever they wanted to go.
Yeah.
And we're in Lake Flynn, and it's a gorgeous landing strip. It's a gorgeous airport. So let's not quit on this, everybody. We can rise up and support Scott Winnick and the group here at EFK at the airport here, Lakeview Aviation. We need a good terminal, not a crappy little terminal just because we've got the plans made by the government. It's our money they're spending. So let's spend it like Vermonters. Let's spend it wisely, and let's use our common
Good
sense.
point. Spend it like Vermonters. That's a good point.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
thanks, Scott. And we'll do more shows here at EFK. And if you're not doing anything and you feel like a really exciting day, come on out. It's right in Coventry. Hard to miss. Where is our exact location? So you can tell people where we are exactly in the world.
Well, the easiest way is to say, head for the dump.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, we're
We're at the landfill outside of Newport, but
it's true, we're close to the Casella land dump here, but it makes a very nice mountain, and I'm sure they're gonna put a ski lift in there someday and make it all worthwhile.
I don't know.
But until that time, just come out to the airport. Thanks for watching Life is Good. Thanks, Jenna Sladke, for being our wonderful videographer and for catching all the fun. And thanks to Dan Govath for taking us all up in the airplane and having a really good day. See you next week.